You'll have to tell me who's working the snowflake case.
Hey, I can't do nothing for you on that. My hands are totally tied.
All right, that's it. Now it's my turn.
Everyone thought Jim Carrey was just joking until his life completely unraveled for the world to see. Behind the fame and laughter is a reality defined by heartbreak, betrayal, and isolation. Once Hollywood's king of comedy,
I guess not.
his shocking fall is darker than anyone imagined. What really happened to Jim Carrey? Join us as we unveil what really happened to Jim Carrey, a revelation that has totally stunned the world. A complicated trail. Jim Carrey recently pulled back the curtain on Hollywood's darkest scandals and elite circles that the industry has kept hidden for years. Speaking openly hasn't come without a price. He's been mocked and treated like someone the industry wants erased. In an era where cancel culture still wields power, Jim's honesty has made him its next target. Few dare to speak this truth, but he isn't holding back. This isn't just speculation. Celebrities are speaking out about why Jim Carrey is at odds with Hollywood's elite, and it's severe enough that he might never recover. Some say he simply sticks to the lessons from his family and upbringing, the foundation that got him here, and finds it hard to blend with the industry's rules. So why is he being punished for his beliefs? You're about to find out. Everyone knows that Jim has never shied away from exposing Hollywood's darker side. He has risked it all to drop bombshells, like that time when he claimed the Illuminati is calling the shots. His fans and even critics became convinced that after he started spitting out facts about the fundamental nature of Hollywood, principalities pushed him into retirement and basically made him vanish from the spotlight. However, the buzz all but died down with Jim's recent entrance into the spotlight. His return to Hollywood has been refreshing with renewed perspective and energy, proving that sometimes a break is exactly what a career needs. Speaking exclusively to E! News at the Los Angeles premiere of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Jim explained that stepping back has allowed him to maintain his perspective. He's never taken himself too seriously, and stepping out of the spotlight gave him the freedom to enjoy life without constant scrutiny. This deliberate pause also gave his fans a chance to miss him, creating renewed excitement for his return. His return to acting was motivated by practical reasons, reprising the role of Dr. Robotnik, and this time also his grandfather, Professor Gerard Robotnik, in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, gave Jim a chance to blend humor, character work, and nostalgia. Yet, he openly admitted to the Associated Press that a more mundane motivation played a role as well. "I bought a lot of stuff, and I need the money, frankly." Despite stepping back from acting, Jim has remained creatively active. Beyond film, he has explored painting.
Everyone fucks each other shapeless.
Please don't use a bad word when you can use a good word.
And continued his political commentary, using art to channel his views and emotions. These pursuits have allowed him to express himself in ways acting alone could not, giving his fans insight into his inner life and artistic vision. His return to Hollywood, therefore, is not a retreat into the old system, but a careful re-engagement on his own term. But focusing on his retreats, what are some of the experiences that shape the philosophy he lives by? One that allegedly got him into trouble: childhood trauma. Jim Carrey's early life was marked by anxiety and a constant need to cope through humor. His mother's poor health and frequent discussions of her declining condition created an atmosphere of continuous worry for young Jim. Dinner table conversations often turned into grim reminders of mortality, leaving him anxious and fearful of losing his parents. These experiences shaped his view of life and death, instilling a deep-seated awareness of impermanence that would influence him for years to come. Jim's mother, a child of alcoholics, struggled emotionally and was unable to provide the stability and support he needed. This lack left Jim with a persistent sense of responsibility to bring joy and comfort to others, a burden he carried from a young age. He felt a need to perform, to be funny, as a way of coping with the tension at home and the emotional void left by his mother's upbringing. Humor became both a shield and a survival tool, helping him navigate a childhood that was often unpredictable and frightening. The family's struggles intensified when Jim was a teenager. His father lost his job, forcing the family to move from Newmarket to a Toronto suburb. To help make ends meet, Jim left school at 16 and took a job as a janitor. But financial pressures only escalated. The Carreys eventually lost their home and were forced to live in a tent while traveling across Canada, a period Jim has described as deeply difficult and angering. Yet rather than succumbing to despair,
Like here. Oh. We can impart the idea that
he chose to channel his emotions into humor. Jim has said that these challenges, including homelessness, shaped both his outlook on life and his comedic voice. "My father lost his job, and I actually became homeless for quite some time. Of course, I grew up in Canada, so I thought we had just gone camping," he joked, reflecting on how he turned hardship into comedy. Even in the face of uncertainty, he found a way to reinterpret his circumstances with levity, transforming anger and fear into laughter and performance. This combination of fear, loss, and humor became a defining feature of Jim's personality and later his career. Jim may have left his mark on the industry, but what mark did the industry leave on him? The unending challenges. Jim Carrey's journey in the entertainment industry has been marked by both success and personal challenges. Despite his fame and acclaim for comedic roles in films like Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty, The Mask, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Dumb and Dumber, and The Cable Guy, he has faced difficulties throughout his career. Jim has showcased his versatility by taking on serious roles, receiving praise for his performances in films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, in which he starred alongside Kate Winslet. Early in his career, Jim faced the hardships of the industry, working under the guidance of popular comedian Rodney Dangerfield, who played a pivotal role in helping him explore comedy and realize his potential. His climb to superstardom during the 1990s included notable work on the TV show In Living Color. Jim Carrey's journey to stardom was anything but smooth. Starting out in the entertainment industry, he quickly learned how tough it was to break into Hollywood. As the New York Times chronicled, Jim spent nearly a decade hustling, performing his comedy wherever he could.
I didn't know you were coming.
And working relentlessly to get noticed. Looking back, Jim shared a little ritual he used to have, but it wasn't about the cash for him. It was about being great at what he loved. Jim's first big comedy gig came when he was just 15, thanks to his dad landing him a spot at a Toronto club. It didn't go well. Wearing a shiny polyester suit that screamed "trying too hard," Jim got booed off the stage. But instead of giving up, he came back 2 years later with a new look and a much more laid-back, messy-haired vibe. And it worked. He actually denied his own existence, saying, "Because there is no me, no self. Jim Carrey is gone. Actually, it never existed, and I know that now. So I'm able to take gigantic chances with this thing that people know." And that propelled him. By 19, Carrey had set his sights on Los Angeles. Take Saturday Night Live, for example. He auditioned, but got rejected. His audition tape didn't even reach the show's big boss, Lorne Michaels. According to Michaels, someone on his team decided that he would not like, and that was the end of that. They were probably wrong, but who knows? Luckily, Carrey didn't need SNL to blow up. He went on to have an insane career and didn't hold a grudge. In fact, he ended up hosting SNL 3 times and even joined the show's 40th anniversary special. Talk about a full circle moment, even as he was starting to make his mark in Hollywood. Jim Carrey had to learn to live with a massive sense of personal personal loss. He lost both his parents in a relatively short span of time, his mother in 1991 and his father in 1994. Carrey revealed in 2014 that his father indirectly helped him follow his dreams. Carrey's father was immensely talented and could have shone in the entertainment industry, but was too afraid to take that risk. Practicality. He made a conservative choice and instead got a job as an accountant. Years later, his father faced a critical juncture when he lost his job, compelling him to reassess his options. Jim Carrey reflects on this period as a valuable lesson, realizing that even seemingly secure choices can lead to failure. He emphasizes the importance of embracing failure while pursuing one's true passions. For Carrey, that meant pursuing acting and comedy, a decision rooted in genuine love for the craft. Moreover, Jim Carrey is no stranger to battling mental illness. His characters on screen are known for making people laugh, but the actor has privately fought depression for a long time.
Because he wants to charge you for water, and he wants to charge you to pee.
Seeking professional help to cope with his symptoms, Carrey spoke about his journey in 2004 in a conversation. He explained that he was on Prozac for a long time, and that it may have helped him out of a jam for a little bit, but people stay on it forever. Despite being an incredibly talented, versatile actor, Jim Carrey has experienced his share of ups and downs throughout his career. Acting has definitely taken a back seat over the last few years, but Carrey hasn't forgotten his love for the craft. One of his fans wrote, "He lost his parents at his peak, but that didn't stop him. Every performance this guy did is comedy gold. He was amazing in drama too." Another one added, "He took his sorrow and turned it into our joy. That's a beautiful life. There'd be no 90s without Jim Carrey's humor." In 2015, Catriona White, the former girlfriend Jim once bonded with over their shared problems with depression, took her own life via drug overdose, and a note found after her death, written years prior, cited some of Jim's actions, including mental abuse and supplying drugs, that her family viewed as likely contributing factors as to why she took her own life. As a result, White's husband filed a lawsuit against Jim, as did White's mother, in 2016, implying that Jim not only supplied her with drugs, but also gave White an STD, which further added to her depressive state. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed, but it left Jim Carrey scarred. Despite everything he endured, challenges that could have broken anyone, he still couldn't resist calling out Hollywood stars, calling out Hollywood elites. Jim Carrey has ruffled feathers in Hollywood before, but nothing drew attention like his outspoken critique of a fellow star over what he calls an injustice and preferential treatment. One of the people he called out was Will Smith, and it shocked the world. It all started during the 94th Academy Awards. Jim Carrey didn't mince words when he threw shade at the whole debacle with Will Smith and Chris Rock at the Oscars. When he was out there promoting Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Jim straight up told Gayle King on CBS that he was totally disgusted by the whole scene at the 2022 Oscars. Know when Smith slapped Rock for cracking a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's haircut, considering she deals with alopecia? Well, Carrey wasn't having any of it. After Smith unleashed that outburst at Chris Rock, yelling to keep his wife's name out of his mouth, he still walked away with the Best Actor award for King Richard. For Jim Carrey, that was enough to stop holding back on his thoughts. He straight up said he felt sick, seeing everyone giving Smith a standing ovation after that mess. Jim didn't hesitate, calling Hollywood out for being spineless and suggesting they've lost their edge.
Who we are is so much greater than what happens to us.
It would appear that the actor saw that action as confirming earlier suspicions that Will Smith's rise might be because of things he had done to get there, and that is likely why he is still being protected. If not for that protection, Carrey thinks Smith should have been booted out of the Oscars then and there for his slap-happy moment. Jim was visibly upset, saying one does not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said a word. He also pointed out that Chris Rock chose not to involve the authorities in the matter, but Carrey asserted that this decision was solely because the comedian preferred to avoid the trouble. Another notable episode involved Shia LaBeouf during the 2014 Golden Globes. At the ceremony, Jim made a joke referencing LaBeouf's recent controversies, including a plagiarism scandal surrounding his short film, HowardCantor.com. Although intended as humor, the quip quickly escalated online, triggering a confusing exchange on social media. LaBeouf responded with erratic tweets that mentioned Jim's daughter, Jane, and made accusations of neglect, claims that were quickly disproven. Eventually, LaBeouf issued an apology and withdrew from public scrutiny, while Jim stayed silent, demonstrating a careful, measured approach to online conflicts and public disputes. Tensions have also surfaced in professional collaborations. On the set of Batman Forever in 1995, Jim's exuberant and highly energetic portrayal of the Riddler reportedly clashed with co-star Tommy Lee Jones, who played Two-Face. Jones openly expressed discomfort with Jim's comedic style, referring to it as buffoonery. Despite the friction, both actors delivered performances that remain iconic in the superhero genre.
I'll make one of those sour cream blueberry pies that I make that you like.
No.
Anyway.
Jim has since recounted the experience with humor, noting that the clashes reflected differences in personality and approach rather than genuine animosity. He has often emphasized that creative tension on set is common and can even enhance the final product when handled professionally. Beyond Hollywood, Jim's outspoken nature extends into politics and social commentary. He has frequently used his art and public platform to critique figures and issues that concern him, sometimes provoking sharp reactions. In 2018, he created a political illustration depicting Senator Ted Cruz as a vampire defeated by Beto O'Rourke, prompting a pointed response from Cruz, who criticized Jim's confrontational style. The following year, Jim continued producing politically charged artwork that combined satire, humor, and provocative imagery to draw attention to societal and political issues. Through these endeavors, Jim has cultivated a public persona that merges celebrity with activism, unafraid to challenge authority or provoke debate, while maintaining a distinct voice that reflects both his comedic sensibilities and his convictions. It's not hard to imagine that a man who doesn't care about public backlash regarding his perspectives would have enemies. What do other actors say about Jim? A long list of haters. Cancel culture is running rampant in Hollywood right now. We've seen so many celebrities get taken down for speaking their minds or for getting caught up in something controversial. And Jim Carrey is teetering on that edge. He's been targeted before, but lately, it feels like the industry has made him one of its primary targets. He's been called crazy, ridiculed in the media, and even sidelined from major projects. And the reason is that he's not playing by Hollywood's rules anymore. And shockingly, this is what Martin Freeman said about Jim, who even worked with him in a movie as well. I'm sure, genuinely sure, Jim Carrey is a lovely and smart person, but it was the most self-aggrandizing, selfish, narcissistic bollocks I've ever seen. Freeman never really got into the nitty-gritty, but it was obvious that Jim Carrey rubbed him the wrong way. And this isn't the first time we've heard something like this. Tommy Lee Jones had his own issues with Jim. After working together on Batman Forever, Jones admitted that he couldn't stand Jim. Jim even shared that story with the late Norm Macdonald during an interview. He started shaking. He hugged me and said, "I hate you. I really don't like you." You'd never guess this kind of drama was brewing behind the scenes, especially since Tommy Lee Jones held his own in every scene with Jim. But this is just one actor who's had beef with Jim. You can bet there are more out there.
We take the death episode off the shelf.
It has a lot to do with how well Jim steals the spotlight. In anything he does, it's tough to outshine Jim Carrey in a scene. Some actors might get frustrated when they're no longer the center of attention, especially if they've been the star of their whole careers. Incidents like these may have contributed to Jim distancing himself from Hollywood later in life. Speaking of stealing the spotlight recently, Jim Carrey captured public attention once again, but this time not for a blockbuster or a comedy sketch, but instead for his revelations about experiencing what he calls a spiritual awakening. On a recent appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, he fixed the audience with an intense, unwavering gaze, leaving viewers unsure whether they were witnessing a profound personal insight or a carefully crafted performance. The moment blurred the line between reality and spectacle, as Jim oscillated between philosophical pronouncements and playful absurdity. The crescendo arrived weeks later during Fashion Week, when he bewildered interviewer Kat Sadler on the red carpet, delivering statements that seemed to defy conventional comprehension. There's no meaning to any of this. Peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care, he said, dismissing the very notion of identity. When asked about his sharply tailored outfit, he responded coolly, "No, I didn't get dressed up. There is no me." Jim's words were at once unsettling and magnetic, simultaneously drawing curiosity and skepticism. A few days later, he released a calmer, more measured version of himself in interviews. Still, the substance of his statements about the illusion of self, the fluidity of identity, and the futility of clinging to personality ignited fascination and controversy alike. Yet, it is nearly impossible to separate these remarks from the man delivering them. Jim Carrey is first and foremost an actor, and his craft is rooted in creating transformative experiences for himself and his audience. His gestures, expressions, and words are meticulously honed tools designed to capture attention and evoke a reaction. Whether his spiritual musings reflect an authentic internal shift or another expertly performed role remains an open question.
I don't see why some run-of-the-mill breakup suddenly tips the scales.
Consider the red carpet moment. Jim's piercing, almost hypnotic gaze has been interpreted by some as evidence of awakening, but in fact, such a gaze is a familiar tactic in the world of spiritual performance, a method often used to command presence, to hold attention, and to suggest insight beyond the ordinary. It is a deliberate, learned technique, not necessarily proof of enlightenment. For those who grew up in the late 1990s, Jim's irreverent, chaotic comedic persona defined an era. His unrestrained energy, wild improvisations, and unpredictable antics left an indelible mark on popular culture. Yet, the figure speaking now about energy fields and the illusory nature of the self is strikingly different from the mischievous, high-octane performer audiences once adored. Understanding Jim's current perspective requires revisiting Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond, Netflix's documentary that uncovers the behind-the-scenes experience of his 1999 role in Man on the Moon, where he portrayed the enigmatic comedian Andy Kaufman. The footage reveals Jim fully inhabiting Kaufman and, at times, Kaufman's abrasive alter ego, Tony Clifton, remaining in character even when the cameras were off. The intensity of this immersion was transformative. By becoming Kaufman, Jim confronted the artificiality of his own persona. Emerging from the role, he described a period of disorientation, as if the structures he had relied on, religion, career goals, family history, and self-identity, were suddenly stripped away. They were stories he had been telling himself, constructs of a life lived in performance. Jim's recent statements, in this light, can be seen as an extension of a lifelong process, the ongoing interrogation of identity, performance, and reality. But what if it was all for the attention? The boundaries of creativity. For Jim Carrey, creativity has never been a gentle pursuit. It's a force that sweeps through him, uncontainable and absolute. After a profound personal shift in perspective, he dove headlong into art, letting painting consume him entirely. In his short film, I Needed Color, Jim recalls a period when his work completely overtook his home. Canvases stacked against walls, and furniture blurred the line between living space and gallery. Art wasn't something he did. It was something happening through him, as if he were merely a conduit. This intensity, however, has a double edge. The same energy that fuels artistic breakthroughs can spill into chaos.
I am the Oreo cookie without its creamy center. But if you dip me in milk, I'm still a mouthful of yummy.
Dissolving boundaries between imagination and reality. On the set of Man on the Moon, Jim's immersion into Andy Kaufman, and sometimes Kaufman's confrontational alter ego, Tony Clifton, pushed him and everyone around him to unpredictable extremes. Colleagues initially marveled at his commitment, but admiration soon turned to frustration as Jim began communicating only telepathically in character. The simplest interactions became endurance tests. Jim's antics on set are the stuff of legend. Paul Giamatti once recalled how Jim filled his pockets with Limburger cheese, spreading its pungent odor with each handshake or hug. When pro wrestler Jerry Lawler appeared to film his scenes, Jim extended the infamous Kaufman feud into reality, taunting Lawler relentlessly and even spitting on him during a staged fight. The encounter ended with Jim in the hospital wearing a neck brace and refusing to film further scenes with Lawler. Even director Milos Forman, a veteran filmmaker, admitted being intimidated by Jim's alter ego. The production teetered on the edge of chaos, yet the resulting performance cemented Jim's status as a fearless and transformative actor. This pattern repeated itself in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Jim was initially captivated by Rick Baker's intricate prosthetic suit, a marvel of design made from yak hair. But the beauty quickly turned torturous. Daily application took 2.5 hours, and the heat and weight of the costume became unbearable. Jim's frustration erupted into tantrums that left the set in disarray, prompting makeup artist Kazuhiro to resign. Progress stalled, and the production faced a crisis. To survive the ordeal, Jim went to extremes. He enlisted a trainer skilled in techniques for enduring torture, learning methods to withstand the physical and psychological strain of the costume. The result was a performance built on resilience as much as talent. Across his career, a clear pattern emerges. Jim drives himself and everyone around him to the brink. His absurdity and unflinching commitment produce moments that are as disruptive as they are unforgettable. Scenes that might have faltered under ordinary circumstances instead became defining highlights, imprinted on audience memory.
Really wish you wouldn't call me that. Just Jeff. Jeff is fine.
Jim Carrey's career reveals an essential truth about artistic obsession. The line between method acting and madness is porous. He walks it deliberately, knowing that the chaos he creates is inseparable from the brilliance he delivers. For Jim, the extremes of performance, the exhaustion, the risk, the conflict, they are not obstacles, but integral ingredients of art itself. In his world, surrendering entirely to the role, the energy, and the process is not optional. It is inevitable. What do you think of Jim's claim of a spiritual emergence? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.